Oh, what's up, everybody? We're going to be talking about the best marketing agency business model, especially in 2021. And this really took me 13 years of blood, sweat, and tears to figure out. And when you do this, you're going to make your life, especially financially, a hell of a lot easier. So let's get into it. All right, so we're coming, by the way, in the new location. This is my yard in La Paz, Mexico. And by the way, in case you didn't know this, there's at least 4 levels of how you can manage your agency, like business model wise. And 99% of people, by the way, are in the first one. And I call that first one Sally Seller. Sally Seller is a very, very simple proposition. It is, I offer a service, like say I design a website, you come and buy it as the client, and we make a trade, and that's it. I sell you, I might make $5,000 from a website, but there's a real downside to that, by the way, and that is, if you've ever done it, you're always selling. If you want to make more money, it requires more selling. So you never really get ahead. Heidi B, we got a cute little baby in this one. My daughters are coming outside. Say hello, Heidi B. Hello. So if you've been on that hamster wheel where you're always selling and your income is always tied to like working your ass off, it's time to get out of Sally Seller mode and at least get into level 2. Level 2 is what I call recurring Randy. Recurring Randy is when instead of being Sally Seller, you're selling your stuff recurring. And this adds up a whole lot quicker. Like one of our mastermind members, Kyle, is selling a $5,000 per month SEO package, and his clients are staying on an average of 2 years, which is 24 payments times $5,000. If you can do math, that's 120,000. When you're making 120,000 per client, you don't need nearly as many clients to make a really awesome living as you do selling a single $5,000 website. So if you're in that level, the first thing you want to do is figure out how can I build some like recurring value and become a recurring Randy. Now there's a third level past that. I've only recently entered into these top 2 levels in the last 2 years, and I wish I knew this when I first started in 2007. It would have been a total game changer, but I was young, naive, before kids, you know? So anyway, the third level is something we call Investor Ivan. An Investor Ivan is somebody who is like a recurring Randy in that they generate recurring deals that go a long way. But instead of just making recurring payments, they are reinvesting those payments into something that itself multiplies passively when they're not looking. So if you are recurring Randy and you did not wake up richer today than last night, then you are missing out on all this. Heidi and Zelda, my cute little bees, playing in the yard. So one of your goals should be to get to investor level. And one of the big mistakes I made is thinking, oh, you got to have 100 grand to be able to invest. But actually you don't. You can get started investing like 20 bucks. You can buy a silver coin. Hey, play nice, both of you. Pop a moment. So when you get to the level where you become Investor Ivan, what happens is you wake up to passive stuff. So I actually get some royalty checks from Amazon from my book. I get different compound stuff from the crypto I do. I've got some gold, some index funds, some stocks. I don't know, a lot of shit. I'm not trying to tell you guys about all the stuff I do. It's more relevant that you do it. So there's a 4th level past that, by the way, and it's called Compound Carl. And that is when you are on level 3, where you're getting recurring stuff and you're investing that, and your investments themselves are compounding, and you are reusing what you once created for a new client. So that means, for example, like take the guy selling the website. It's so obvious, but we don't tend to think about this. We think our value is from building the website. But in actuality, if you just sell that same exact website with a few modifications to somebody else, not only is that easier for you, but it's better for the client. So you actually can sell that same website 1,000 different times if you want to, especially if those people aren't competing with each other. So what happens when you do that is you start to reuse your assets, and your money compounds, and your investments compound. And then what happens is, and I'll give you just an idea of, like, to give you the math, because it's kind of insane when you really understand it. So in the Sally Seller lever, when you're selling a website and you might make $2,000, that's what you walk away with. The old $2,000, you make a website, and that's great, but it doesn't last very long in today's world, right? Like $2,000, you might make it 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever, depending on where you live. So when you reach level 4, let's say I get $2,000 from a client, and let's not even pretend it's recurring yet. Let's just pretend it's a one-time deal. And let's say I put it into something like Bitcoin, which is one of the things I'm personally interested in. Now, whatever investment, I'm not like pushing you towards crypto or anything. Whatever investments make sense to you, it's more important that you do invest rather than that. So one of the things that I'm doing is, on average, Bitcoin has roughly tripled every year for 10 years. Now, that's no guarantee it'll do in the future, but let's just say it continues that trajectory. That means if you can wait 4 years, Bitcoin will go up a whole bunch of times. Zelda B wants a drink. So what ends up happening, by the way, and I'm also acting as a short-term lender of Bitcoin, which compounds my Bitcoin at 5% a month. So that means, irrespective of the price of Bitcoin, that about every year the amount of Bitcoin I hold is going to double. So let's just say it stays static at 2,000. It is going to double to 4,000, and that amount is going to double to 8,000, and that amount is going to double to 16, and that amount is going to double to 32. And that's irrespective of any price change at all. Now, if Bitcoin happens to triple in there in a single year, then that amount would become worth 100,000. And if it happens to triple again, that amount could be worth 300,000. Which means, and obviously, who knows what's going to happen in the future. But I don't think those are unrealistic numbers, by the way, especially with the amount of money the Federal Reserve is printing right now. And what that means for you is that if you're selling a website and you do it smart and you invest wisely, that a single website client can pay for your next house. So when I hear people saying, what's the best business model? I'll tell you, most of the business models people look at are all in the Sally Seller. They're saying, what's the best thing to sell? But they're not thinking strategically enough about what to do with their whole agency. Do you want a drink, Zelda? Yeah, you want a drink? Have a drink. Papa says have a drink. So when you do this correctly, what happens is you don't need nearly as many clients to be financially successful, and you get to be a whole lot choosier about who you pick, because each client just goes so much further. Now imagine that starts to happen monthly in compounds, right? You can live a pretty awesome lifestyle. So this is really something I've only kind of talked about in our masterminds. It's like a pretty advanced thing, and I haven't really thrown it out there. But if you guys be interested in learning a little more about how this works, then maybe I could do like a webinar on it or something like that, or free training. So drop a comment below if this is your cup of tea. But when you get this right, it's a real game changer, because you don't work nearly as hard to get ahead. The Sally Seller mode, where 99% of agency owners are in, is a never-ending hamster wheel. And ask me how I know, because I did it for 10 years. So when you get into this compound Carl, what happens is, with a little bit of strategic thought, one website buys you a house. And it's pretty amazing when that starts to happen. Unless you live in California, then it buys you a garage. So anyway, I hope this video is like as amazing as I think it is anyway. So may the force be with you guys. And if you're not subscribed, subscribe.